Level 1. The Bonfire of Vanities. Tom Hanks plays Sherman McCoy, a Wall Street bond trader who considers himself a master of the universe. And somehow, this casting makes less sense the longer you think about it. Brian De Palma directed this adaptation of Tom Wolfe's satirical novel about greed, race, and corruption in 1980s New York, and every decision made in the production was wrong. Casting America's nicest guy as a privileged, morally bankrupt Wall Street villain was mistake number one in a film built entirely on mistakes. The novel is biting satire. The film is a confused mess that doesn't know if it wants to be a dark comedy, social commentary, or courtroom drama. For people who love the movie, and some do, appreciating its ambitious swing at a difficult material, it's a fascinating failure. But it's still a failure. Hanks is completely miscast, playing a character that requires someone naturally smug and detestable. Instead, we get Tom Hanks trying to be unlikable, which is like watching a golden retriever trying to be a wolf. It doesn't work. Critics destroyed it. Audiences ignored it. The Bonfire of Vanities became Hollywood's favorite example of how to ruin a bestseller by making every wrong choice possible. Hank himself has said that taking this role was a mistake made during his transition from comedy to drama. This is the worst Tom Hanks movie, not because it's offensively terrible, but because it proves that even Tom Hanks can't save fundamental miscasting and muddled direction. Level 2. Larry Crowne. Tom Hanks directed, co-wrote, and starred in this aggressively pleasant romantic comedy about a middle-aged man who loses his job and enrolls in community college. It's the cinematic equivalent of oatmeal. Warm, safe, completely lacking any flavor that might make it memorable. Larry Crowne exists for people who want to watch something that won't challenge them, won't surprise them, and definitely won't stick with them past the credits. Hank plays Larry opposite Julia Roberts as this teacher who's dealing with her own life crisis. They have chemistry because they're both professionals, but the script gives them nothing interesting to do with it. Larry joins a scooter club that dresses in matching outfits. He gets a makeover. He learns about public speaking. Every plot point feels like it was generated by an algorithm designed to create the most inoffensive movie possible. The film was made for audiences who think Hallmark movies are too edgy. It's competent in every technical aspect while being completely devoid of personality. Larry Crowne is proof that Tom Hanks, the filmmaker, doesn't have the edge or perspective that Tom Hanks, the actor, brings to better directors' visions. It's not bad enough to hate, which somehow makes it worse. It's just there, taking up space where something interesting could have been. Level 3. The Terminal. Spielberg directed Hanks in the story about Viktor Navorsky, a man trapped in JFK Airport after his country undergoes a coup, rendering his passport invalid. The setup promises Kafkaesque absurdity and poignant commentary on bureaucracy, identity, and belonging. What it delivers is a weirdly sanitized fable that feels like it was written to not offend anyone, which is ironic for a story about stateless refugees. Hank creates an elaborate Eastern European accent and plays Victor as childlike and innocent, which works until you realize the film is treating him like a foreigner who needs to learn American ways to be complete. The Terminal has a strange conservative bent where Victor's journey is about assimilating and accepting authority rather than challenging the absurdity of his situation. The airport becomes a microcosm of America, but one that's been thoroughly Disneyfied. The film looks beautiful because Spielberg is a master craftsman, but it feels hollow. Catherine Zeta-Jones provides a love interest subplot that goes nowhere meaningful. The supporting cast of airport workers is quirky without being real. The Terminal is the kind of movie that should be touching and thought-provoking, but instead feels like it's pulling its punches at every opportunity. It's Spielberg and Hanks on autopilot, competent, and forgettable. Before we hit level 4, make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell. We're about to meet the Tom Hanks performances that actually justify why he's one of America's most beloved actors. Level 4. Apollo 13. Ron Howard directed this retelling of NASA's near disaster in 1970, and Hanks plays Jim Lovell, the commander of a mission that went from moon landing to survival story after an oxygen tank exploded. "Houston, we have a problem" became one of cinema's most quoted lines, and the film's technical accuracy combined with human drama created something genuinely gripping, despite everyone knowing how it ends. Hank anchors an ensemble cast that includes Kevin Bacon, Bill Paxton, Gary Sinise, and Ed Harris. This isn't a showy performance. It's measured, professional, and focused. Lovell was a real person who handled an impossible situation with calm competence, and Hank captures that without making him boring. The film works because it treats space travel and problem solving as inherently dramatic without adding artificial conflict. Apollo 13 showcases Hank's ability to be the reliable center of large-scale productions. He doesn't need to be the loudest or most dynamic presence to hold the screen. The film is meticulously crafted, well acted across the board, and deeply respectful of the actual people and events it depicts. It's not Hank's most memorable performance, but it's a perfect example of his everyman authority, the guy you trust to get everyone home safely. Level 5. Castaway. Hank plays Chuck Nolan, a FedEx executive stranded on a deserted island after a plane crash, and the film is essentially a one-man show for the middle hour. Hank lost 50 pounds for the role, grew a massive beard, and spent the bulk of the movie acting opposite a volleyball he named Wilson. The physical commitment alone is impressive, but what elevates Castaway is how Hank conveys isolation, desperation, and human need for a connection through minimal dialogue. The Wilson relationship is absurd on paper, and heartbreaking on screen because Hank sells it completely. You watch a grown man apologize to a volleyball, and you feel it. The film's middle section is almost silent, relying entirely on Hank's physicality and expression to maintain engagement. Director Robert Zemeckis structured the film around Hank's transformation, using the weight loss and beard growth as literal timeline markers. Castaway works as both survival thriller and meditation on modern life versus primal existence. Hanks makes Chuck's journey from obsessive efficiency expert to barefoot island survivor to a man who doesn't quite fit in either world completely believable. The final act, after his rescue, is underrated. Hank plays a man who survived but isn't sure what he survived for. This is Hanks at his most physically transformed and emotionally raw. Level 6. Forrest Gump. Hanks won his second consecutive Oscar playing Forrest Gump, a man with below-average intelligence who accidentally witnesses and influences major historical events across several decades. The film became a cultural phenomenon, spawning endless quotes, a restaurant chain, and debates about whether it's wholesome Americana or conservative propaganda disguised as feel-good cinema. Regardless of your interpretation, Hank's performance is undeniably iconic. The accent, the posture, the delivery. Hanks created a character that's instantly recognizable but endlessly imitated. Forrest could have been a caricature or inspiration porn, but Hank finds genuine humanity in someone who approaches life with simple honesty in a world that rewards complexity and deception. The film is episodic by design, moving through Vietnam, the Civil Rights era, Watergate, and the 80s with Forrest as our guide. Forrest Gump represents peak Tom Hanks cultural dominance, back-to-back Oscars, box office champion, a character that became part of the national conversation. Whether the film's politics sit right with you or not, Hank's work is beyond question. He makes you believe in Forrest's goodness without making him simple. This is movie star performance at its most complete. Technical skill, emotional truth, and cultural impact all combined. Level 7. Saving Private Ryan. Spielberg's World War II masterpiece opens with the D-Day invasion at Omaha Beach. 27 minutes of the most visceral, brutal combat ever filmed. Then, Tom Hanks walks into frame as Captain John Miller, and suddenly, you understand this film is about more than just spectacle. It's about men trying to maintain their humanity while surrounded by mechanized death. Hank plays Miller as a high school teacher turned reluctant warrior, a man who leads through quiet competence while slowly fracturing under the weight of impossible decisions. The mission, crossing enemy territory to find and extract Private Ryan, whose 3 brothers have all been killed, is absurd on its face. Miller knows it, the squad knows it, and Hank plays a man executing orders he disagrees with because that's what soldiers do. The performance is all in the details, the hand tremor Miller can't control, the way he compartmentalizes grief behind stoic determination, the brief moments when you see the teacher underneath the soldier. Hanks makes Miller heroic without glorifying war, makes him honorable while acknowledging the moral compromise combat demands. The final battle in Ramil is Hanks at his most commanding, and his final words to Private Ryan carry the weight of everything the film has built towards. Saving Private Ryan is Spielberg and Hanks at their absolute peak, the greatest American director and the most trusted American actor collaborating on the most important American war film ever made. This is Hanks' greatest performance because it captures everything he does best: everyman authority, quiet strength, moral clarity tested by impossible circumstances, and the ability to anchor massive spectacle with intimate human truth. This is the GOAT. So which level Tom Hanks movie are you watching this weekend? And do you agree that Saving Private Ryan is his peak? Comment below, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell for more rankings that prove some actors define entire generations.